Jacob Hester is with us. You can follow him on social media at Jacob Hester 18, former LSU and NFL great with us. Also hear him on Sirius XM and with our buddy T-Bob off the bench every single day down in Louisiana. What is up, Hester? How are you today?
I'm doing well. Just wrapped up with T-Bob, but always a pleasure to join you three.
Yeah, it's always fun talking football with you. Well, let's start there. We're talking national championship game, but you've seen a lot of Texas and a lot of Arch Manning and a lot of Quinn Ewers. Are you willing to say from what you've seen of Arch Manning at the collegiate level, this is an obvious upgrade? There's no doubt that Texas is going to be better off with Quinn Ewers out of the way and Arch Manning playing.
It is a wild conversation because, we've had three perfect recruits ever. It's been Vince Young, Quinn Ewers, and Arch Manning. So all three play at Texas, but Quinn Ewers is incredibly talented. There's 85% of Quinn Ewers that is really, really good. It's that 15% that you wish you could kind of figure out. But even with that being said, he led his team to back-to-back semifinal appearances. And so there was a lot of good with Quinn Ewers. And we don't know with Arch Manning. It's been flashes, certainly. And I've watched him play. I played with his uncle Peyton in Denver, so I've heard what he was going to be for a very, very long time. Watching him play here in New Orleans, in Louisiana. And I think he's going to be really, really good. But to assume from the jump, remember they're opening up with Ohio State next year, that it's going to be the same level as Quinn. So that's lofty expectations for Arch Manning. And I think we do have to pay Quinn Ewers some respect for how good he was those couple of years there at Texas.
Okay, let's stick with quarterbacks, and I don't think this guy is going to play at the next level, but these two are trying to convince me Riley Leonard might be the worst quarterback that could potentially win a national championship
I don't think we went that
in the
long,
playoff era.
One of the worst.
And Riley Leonard's game is not, hey, get down 14 to Ohio State and be able to lead them back to a victory. But I think Riley Leonard's a pretty damn good quarterback for what he does, running the football. He's tough. He's got some intangibles. And look, he's not a pure polished passer, but I think Riley Leonard is a lot better than people think. Am I wrong?
No, I'm right there with you. I am a big fan of Riley Leonard. I was a fan of his at Duke. It's this dude's winning at Duke. He was doing great things with Mike Elko there. And sure, he's not going to be a 15-year NFL vet that starts 13 of those years. He might have a role, though. I actually think he's going to get drafted in the later rounds. I think he sticks around for a while. He is the epitome of my favorite motto, too gritty to be pretty. It is never going to be something that you're going ooh and ah when he throws the football, but I'll be damned if he doesn't find a way. He finds a way every single time to lead his team to victory. Look at that last drive there in the Orange Bowl, man. He makes a couple of plays on some of those money downs where it was not pretty. He had to kind of scramble. He had to throw behind his body to a guy. It almost got tipped, but it got completed. So he is a guy that you go out there and you appreciate the way that he goes about his business and figures it out. Shout out to Fairhope, Alabama as well. I've been watching this kid do this for a very, very long time, and I would totally disagree with him being one of the worst quarterbacks to win a national championship. I would go into battle with Riley Leonard every single day and twice on Sunday. I believe in this guy. Again, the next level, that's a different conversation. But with this level – and the way Notre Dame rallies around him, look, they don't have weapons. They don't have receivers. Bo Collins was okay at Clemson, and that's maybe their go-to guy. Now, Jeremiah Love, when healthy, that's a difference maker. But think about the weapons he doesn't have compared to some other quarterbacks, and you have to factor that into his play as well.
Hey, look, real quick, and I say that he's not going to play in the NFL. You're a Louisiana guy. Taysom Hill still steals money at New Orleans. and so if Taysom Hill can do it in those packages, maybe Riley Leonard would have a spot.
Yeah, look, Taysom Hill when healthy, he's a really good player, but you're right, $18 million is going to be the cap hit next year. He just can't stay healthy, and probably because of the style of play. And, Taysom is a big guy, but, yeah, look, Riley Leonard is one of those I'll do whatever I've got to do to make the roster kind of guys. And, hey, there is a blueprint. You're exactly right. It is Taysom Hill, who was a great player at BYU. He torched Texas a couple of years there in a row at BYU, but same kind of thing. He couldn't stay healthy. So, yeah, Riley, if you want to do that, just know you're going to spend a lot of time in the cold tub. But if you have a path in the NFL, it's probably going to be more of that than it would be as a true pocket passer.
Yeah, that's the only reason you like him is because he's a head-banging running quarterback. He's not a pocket passer. He's not pretty. There's nothing flashy about him. Jacob Hester is with us. I wanted to ask you, man, the better job this year, and I know at least I feel like it's been done by Marcus Freeman. But Ryan Day's done a heck of a job picking this team up after that Michigan loss. So if I ask you who's done a better job, Ryan Day or Marcus Freeman this year, in your opinion, you had to choose between these two national championship coaches potentially, who would you go with?
Gosh, that is such a great question. It's almost impossible to answer because when you lose to Northern Illinois as Notre Dame, how do you get up off the mat after that? How do you find a way to make your team believe that you can go out there and run the rest of the table, which is what they've done? They've gone through Georgia. They've gone through Penn State. And so maybe any other year I would give Marcus Freeman the nod here. But we all know what Ryan Day came into this season with. The expectation, the hot seat talk. You better do A, B, and C. And if you do that, it's probably not going to be good enough because we want you to do A, B, C, and D just because that's what we expect here in Columbus. So you lose a close game to Oregon. And, man, I do shows with Bobby Carpenter every week. He said Columbus radio was melting. He said it was one of the worst weeks he's ever had in radio because of what they had to hear and deal with that week. And you lost to the number one team in the country on the road by a point, and that's what it was like. And then you lose in a fourth year in a row situation to Michigan. We talked about it in Louisiana. Y'all talk about it there in Alabama. All of us talked about Ryan Day, his future. Hell, I thought Tennessee was going to beat him in the playoff because of it. They come out there, they house Tennessee, they house Oregon, they avenge that loss, and then they go and they beat probably, if you're looking at talent in the country, if Ohio State's 1A, Texas might have been 1B, and they beat them by 2 scores. And so for you to have all the doubters, and it was everybody, and then you still find a way to make it to a national championship game in which you're an 8.5-point favorite, as good as Marcus Freeman has been, and my God, do I love Marcus Freeman, I still have to give it to Ryan Day because I don't know of an expectation that is higher maybe ever. Like, it might be the highest expectations of what you better do. We don't care how many games you've won in the regular season. You hadn't beaten Michigan. You haven't won a national championship. Now, you were a shanked kick away from winning a national championship because you also probably do to TCU what Georgia did, but that doesn't matter because you didn't do it. So I think Ryan Day and what he's done to get this team back into this position, I've got to give him the nod there.
You just said what a lot of people have said. I mentioned it earlier. I either, growing up here in Alabama, hated the Notre Dame head coach or didn't care about the Notre Dame head coach. I think Freeman's the first Notre Dame head coach I've actually liked. And a lot of people, like, as far as personal brand goes, Marcus Freeman has already won this national championship. I think America has kind of fallen in love with this guy. Yeah. Do you know him at all? Have you spent time around him? You just said how much you love him. Are you just like us? You're just looking from the afar and saying, man, I really like what this guy, how he presents himself.
No, so I do know Marcus a little bit. We played against each other in college in a national championship game when he was at Ohio State. And as you can imagine, linebacker and running back, we met a couple of times. Played against him when he was in the NFL with the Rams. I think it was a preseason game. We played against each other. And then, going back to Bobby Carpenter, him and I do shows together, and him and Bob are super, super tight. And so we've had him on Meathead Radio with us there in the afternoons on Sirius XM a bunch. And so getting to know him a little bit, spent a lot of time with him down there in Sugar Bowl at the media day, talked with him after the game, off the record after the game, like just talking about the ball game there for a little bit. And so I do know him, but even if I didn't know him, I think I would enjoy Marcus Freeman because you're right. Like, he made Notre Dame lovable. Did any of us sitting here,
Nope.
any of the four of us in our lifetime ever think that Notre Dame would be like an American darling, at least for a little portion of time? Like, I grew up Irish Catholic, and our family didn't like Notre Dame. That's just the way it was, right? Because nobody did. But now everybody's kind of rooting for him, which is wild.
And he's 14-5 against top 25 teams. He's 7-0 this year. With that said, they're 8.5-point dogs on Monday night. Do you give them any shot to pull the upset?
I mean, I give them a shot. Now, if you're asking me for a prediction, I say Ohio State wins, Notre Dame covers. I do think it's going to be a close football game. I think at the end of the day, I just don't know that Notre Dame has enough firepower on offense. I think they can keep it close. They're going to try to control the ball. Hopefully Jeremiah Love doesn't have the giant knee brace on, even though he still looked incredibly athletic, jumping over people, finishing at the goal line. He's really their one explosive weapon. And so when you go against Ohio State, what do I try to take away? If I take away Jeremiah Smith, it's going to be everybody else like it was against Texas. If I take away everybody else, it's going to be Jeremiah Smith like it was in the first 2 rounds. And so do I give him a chance? Absolutely. Do I think they'll win? I do not. I think Ohio State, like I said, they win in a close game just because I don't know that Notre Dame can find the firepower to be able to outscore Ohio State. Now, they did it against Georgia. They've done it in every game outside that Northern Illinois. But this Ohio State team and defense, I think it's different.
Listen, I know how the veins of college football run all over the place, and somehow Marcus Freeman's success at Notre Dame, it feels like down near your house there probably has turned up the heat on Brian Kelly. Is that a fair statement that, oh, look, you're the guy that replaced you at Notre Dame, your old job, has gotten there before you have BK? Is the heat up on BK?
Well, I think they're always going to be intertwined. There's no doubt about it. I mean, BK had him on the staff, and he gets promoted to the head coach there. And as y'all know, just like the places that y'all cover every single day, the expectations at LSU are as high as anywhere in the country. The last 3 coaches have won a national championship. Hell, Coach O got fired for being 500 after 2019, right? And so we kind of know what that is. And I do think the expectation is going to go up. And a lot of people are talking about, hey, you said you couldn't, win a national championship at Notre Dame. And look what Marcus Freeman is doing. I think the math has changed on that as well. Now, I want to give Marcus all the credit, but it was the first year of NIL. There was no collectives. Like, it was kind of still true NIL. Transfer portal certainly wasn't in play like it is now. Like, think about the guys that Notre Dame is getting right now. They're going out and they're, because it's so hard to get accepted to Notre Dame, and now they can go get a Jordan Clark from Arizona State who graduated to be their starting nickel. They can go get Riley Leonard, a Duke graduate, to be their starting quarterback. And so I think 2 things can be true there. And also, like, Marcus has to go win this game. BK got them to a national championship game as well. Now, Alabama ended up, running away with that game. But, Marcus right now is in the same place that BK got Notre Dame. Now, if he wins it, then maybe the math changes again. But, look, I think the expectation at LSU never needs help going up. So I will say that. But I also think that the comparison maybe isn't as easy as it does look like it is on paper.
All right, Jacob Hester at Jacob Hester 18. You hear him on Sirius XM Radio. He and Bobby Carpenter do a great job there. He and T-Bob off the bench. He's a busy, busy man, and we always appreciate the time, Hester. Fun talking with you as always.
Absolutely. My pleasure, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, buddy. You too. Jacob with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.